Hi, I'm Floyd Getchell, and welcome back to the Unspoken Narrative. Today, we're going to learn, or you're going to learn, why I refer to myself as a history scholar. I'm going to share with you a discovery I made a few years ago, and I shared this with the science fiction community. It started out as a presentation, Alter Your Reality. I was at I think it was 2017 at the World Science Fiction or World Sci-Fi Con in Helsinki, and these two astrophysicists had this slide up there, and it said, "This is the edge of the galaxy," and I went in my head, "You're not. That's not the edge of the galaxy. You're looking back in time." And if there's anybody on the edge, they're going to be really offended that you're saying that. And I started laughing. And I just wanted people to understand that's what they were looking at. And so I came up with this alter your reality. And I just wanted people to look at things differently because you have what we get told by mainstream historians. And as I displayed in my very first episode of Unspoken Narrative, you have what actually happened, and then you have just this mountain of garbage out there hiding the truth. The truth has been there the whole time. I just had to point out to everybody what it was because the truth is there, hidden in the Warren Commission report. You just have to have a guide like myself. So, anyway, I was putting this all together and I made an amazing discovery, absolutely amazing, huge historic discovery, and things just kept falling into place. I wish I could share my excitement with you when I made this discovery. And I shared this at the Phoenix Sci-Fi Con a few years ago, and it made a lot of people mad. So I knew I was kind of onto something when I upset these people. I think that was 2016 when I shared it. Or 20, yeah, it was 2016, I'm pretty sure. And there was a recent discovery of a meteor impact. That's what this has to do with, is a meteor impact that changed human history. There was a meteor impact that they had recently discovered in Arizona that didn't affect anybody at all. And it's like, that's cool and all, but did yours change human history? Well, no, but it's really cool. And yeah, that's great. And so anyway, and then during my presentation, I confused Upper and Lower Egypt or Upper and Lower Nile or something. And somebody had to point that out. And I was like, so what? Who cares? What about how this changed everything? It changed world history. And they didn't. And it also upset biblical scholars too, because people need to quit treating the Bible like it's historic fact. It's a bunch of metaphors, a bunch of bedtime stories that got out of hand. All right, it really is. It's metaphorical. It's written in a metaphorical language, either Hebrew or Aramaic, which are figurative languages. They are not factual languages like Greek or Latin, or not factual, literal languages. So anyway, and part of the presentation was also, there was a cuneiform tablet. It's in the British Museum. I'm going to read this here. It's object K8538. It is an Assyrian copy of a Sumerian cuneiform tablet. And Alan Bond and Mark Hempsell just found this in the British Museum. They star mapped this thing out, and it records an impact event that occurred in Kofels, and they wrote a monograph. And when you have an event that covers several different disciplines of science, history, This covers ballistics, astrophysics, because it's a meteor impact. You have to write a monograph, and it covers all these different disciplines. And then you can't, and it just kind of has to go out there because you can't submit it to any one discipline for review. And all these people take pot shots at it. And they submitted this, and they said this may have been the impact event that nailed Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone. And that's important because let me get to it. All right. So then I put that in my alter your reality. Okay. Because I just wanted, hey, we have physical evidence of an impact event that occurred. So we actually have a date for Sodom and Gomorrah. Because I wanted people to look at the Bible. That was my thing. Let's put some dates on there. The other thing is there was an earthquake that occurred that knocked the walls of Jericho down. But the problem is trying to make the Bible a historic document. It doesn't fit with the timeline that they're trying to put on it. First off, the Hebrews didn't, or the Jewish people didn't take Israel from anybody. They just have always lived there. They came from the Canaanite people, in 6 to 8,000 years ago. Okay, they didn't take Israel from anybody. They just have always lived there. Okay, there was Exodus, didn't occur. They didn't leave Egypt. The funniest thing in the world is Ramsey was a very well-known pharaoh. Doesn't fit in the timeline. Okay, at all. All right. So moving forward in my presentation, I wanted people to question the pyramids at Giza. You have 3 immaculate pyramids. So the Egyptians built 5 crummy pyramids, 3 perfect pyramids, and then 5 crummy pyramids. All right, doesn't make any sense at all. Why? How did they? And the first 5 pyramids are built with. They have megalithic stone, 10 to 50 ton foundation pieces. We're talking like maybe 10 to 12 stones at the very, very inner core base pieces. And then the rest is local limestone, right? And Aswan, it is 700 kilometers away where this megalithic stone comes from, 700 kilometers away by air. Okay. 420 miles, I think it is. I'll get to it in a sec. It's a long ways away. Okay. That's by air. All right, where the quarries where the megalithic stones come from. The rest is built by sandstone. So they built these pyramids, crummy pyramids. Dozier's step pyramid was the first one, and that is important. We'll come back to it in a sec. And I just wanted them to question the sequence of the pyramids because it doesn't make any sense. There's actually in the Builder's Temple, which is further south on the Nile River. I think it's in Luxor, which is quite a ways south. It actually says inside there, and why Egyptologists, I don't know this, they say it says in there on the wall that the pyramids were there when we showed up, meaning the Egyptians showed up, but they just kind of ignore that. So I'm looking for pictures for the pyramids, and I started watching this video because there are not a lot of pictures of pyramids online, like good ones. The other pyramids, there are tons of pictures of pyramids at Giza, but 1 through 5, no. And then the pyramids of Giza are 6, 7, and 8, supposedly. And then, but 9 through whatever, there aren't a lot of pictures. So I was watching Dr. Brien Foerster, and he is a researcher, and some of his stuff is way off base. But one of the things, I'm watching this video, and he's talking about this layer of glazed sand throughout Giza and a lot of the area around Cairo, and about a meteor impact that glazed the sand 10,000 years ago. And he's talking about this meteor impact and how incredible it was and how it glazed sand, and that the pyramids are at Giza are over 10,000 years old. And I went, no, wait a minute. I know of a meteor impact that affected Sodom and Gomorrah, which are at the same latitude, that occurred only 5,000 years ago, which would make a lot more sense. And I'm like, holy smokes, I can't believe this. The date of the Kofels impact is 29 June 3123 BC. Okay. So that's that's the date. And I'm just like, holy smokes, I can't believe this. This is absolutely amazing. So Dr. Foerster has I don't know if he didn't know about the Kofels impact or what. This meteor, and I'll throw this slide up. This meteor came in at 7 degrees. It flew right over the Nile Valley. It hit the side of a hill. It's not, you're not going to find an impact crater. They did find all the, when they hit, they make little tiny diamonds and stuff like that. This thing actually changed its state of matter. It hit a hill and glanced off a hill before it hit the other hill. I honestly think it changed its state of matter. When it hit the first hill, I think it changed its state of matter because I think it shattered itself, changed its state. Possibly, it could be completely wrong. I think it made it change its state to plasma. It shatters itself on the first hill and then hits that second hill and then bounces back on its line of trajectory back over the Nile Valley. And the fire and brimstone from Exodus, because it's a great story, co-opt the story, you know, everything's attributed to God in the Old Testament. The fire and brimstone in Exodus, when Moses is supposedly arguing with the Pharaoh, Ramsey, who isn't born for another couple thousand years, but hey, he's really popular, so you got to get him in the story, right? So anyway, it's funny to read historic Ramsey because in the Bible he's depicted as a bad dude. In reality, everybody loved Ramsey. So anyway, you have all this fire and brimstone rain down. There was no warning at all. It happens right at dawn. It's recorded on the cuneiform tablet that the Assyrians have, or that the Sumerian, he witnessed it. He's this astronomer, and that's how they were able to get an exact date. What they did, he records where all the stars are at, and they actually backdate this using our really cool computers we have right now. And he figures all this out. He watches that meteor come in, records it, and then he actually records the mushroom cloud the thing created. Now he's all the way over in modern day Iraq, in the he's probably on the shore of the Euphrates, right around there, as he's watching the stars. This thing hits and he can see the mushroom cloud all the way there. I think he's like 5,000 kilometers away. That's how bad this thing was. It's just over a kilometer across, and it's a meteor. It's solid iron, and it's traveling at 120,000 miles an hour. It is coming in at velocity. Um, and they have no idea it's on the way. All of a sudden, it passed right over them. If a night watch had been watching it, he would have gone, wow, that's really cool. They wouldn't have heard it. It's about 700 kilometers up. When it passes over the Nile Valley, and then minutes later, you're going to have fallout from this impact because it's still traveling. It hits the side of this hill and then it bounces back along its path of trajectory. Like when you throw a big rock into the water and it bounces back, the backsplash along the path of trajectory, it's going to come back the way it bounced or the way it hit. So anyway, it's raining all that down. It's going to wipe out, just going to be cataclysmic. I did the math on it at some point, and it's over 1,000 times worse than Hiroshima, the energy. So anyway, I found other evidence as I was looking around. There are melted quartzite um, statues at Tanis, which means Tanis could potentially be older, to my knowledge. the Egyptians didn't have anything that could melt quartzite at that time. It takes 4,000 degrees to melt quartzite. At Sakura, that is where there are these large 20-ton sarcophagi, or excuse me, the lids are 20 tons. The actual sarcophagi, these are giant sarcophagi. My theory is they were full of paper from this ancient papyrus reed paper or parchment. They're full of papyrus reed paper with the writings from the ancient civilization. Whoever pried the lid off couldn't read it, and it quickly became either fire starter for the illiterate people that couldn't read it, or it became toilet paper. This line that you have of the line that you have of sand, below that line you have the Abydos. You have below this line you have megalithic construction. 20 to 80 ton megalithic stones are used for construction. Then you have a glazed layer of sand below it, and then above it you have everything's built with the local limestone. So nothing is coming from Aswan at all anymore. They've lost the ability to transport megalithic stone at this point, and it's very, very evident at this point that they can no longer move these megalithic stones all the way from Aswan. Aswan is 431 miles away, or 700 kilometers away. That is by air, so they can't do it anymore after this point. They also have lost the ability to bore into the bedrock in and around Giza or any of the other areas. They just can't do it anyway. You actually find one of the large sarcophagi, the 80-ton sarcophagi, is actually in the hallway in Sakura. Is really interesting. It may be at that point they cannot move those anymore. However, they were able to move them. A lot of the theories is they were able to move them by vibration. There's a lot of thought into this. That's how they move stuff, was by vibrating it. We know now that you can shake large objects and just getting them vibrating and then shove them around. One person can shove a large object several tons that is vibrating just because it is vibrating. It seems they lost the ability to do deep relief hieroglyphs into hard stone at this point. You see the boring, the drills, the drilling that they were doing. They lost the ability to do this at that time. Dozier, the step pyramid, so we come back to this. He collected 50,000 of these very thin, some of them, they're stone bowls, and we can't even replicate. They're made out of very hard stone, and some of them are only 5 millimeters thick. The walls of these stone bowls, and he collected these, and they found all these in his pyramid, I think in the 1880s or 1800s, sorry. And we can't replicate that. We cannot replicate that technology. And he collected all these. So thank you to Pharaoh Dozier for doing this. So we have these examples of this amazing technology, and we know the Egyptians couldn't do it either during their entire time, because Dozier is actually considered one of the first pharaohs of the modern era. It's really interesting because there's a stone that records all the pharaohs, and before him there's Namer, and he's like considered, he's a unifying pharaoh, because right after this impact event occurred, Upper and Lower Nile were unified, and Namer is the pharaoh that unified it. And everybody's like, and Egyptologists are like, yeah, he was able to unify Upper and Lower Egypt. But the thing is he is referred to as smelly fish or bad fish by the scribes. well, if he's so great, why are they saying things like that about him? It doesn't make any sense. But the other thing too, and he had been trying to unify the two kingdoms for over 10 years, and then all of a sudden he just walks in, and he walks into the extent that right after that date, he walks in there and he's able to walk all the way into present day Israel. He just waltzes in there, and if there was a cataclysm like this, I mean, no problem. So either the impact event killed the people that had the knowledge, or he walked in there and basically, I'm not as smart as these people, they have all this knowledge, I'm going to kill them all. So that either the meteor impact event killed these people, or he used the event to kill all these people. But that is my theory of what happened with the Kofels impact event. And that's the discovery I made. And uh, like I said, I originally did this presentation. Some, it upset a lot of people. And so I figured, hey, I was onto something. But now you know, this is why I refer to myself as a history scholar, because I was able to put all the pieces together. This goes back to, there was, I think in the 70s, the BBC did a series called Connections, and it connected all these different events around the world and how they were interlocked. And that really had a profound effect on me. So I'm always looking for how things are interconnected, and I hang on to silly bits of information as I'm wandering around. And so I make these connections like this. You have a meteor impact, and the two gentlemen that came up with Kofels and figured that out, they are quite literally rocket scientists. They suggested that it may have been the same impact event that affected Sodom and Gomorrah, which we now know because archaeological evidence did exist. That's on the same latitude as, and the date lines up, and the same latitude as the Nile Valley, the lower Nile Valley, the where Giza is in Cairo. And so you have the impact event, and then you also have the political ramifications of Neymar taking over that, and then you have all this technology that disappeared at that same time. Then I have the physical evidence of the melted statues at Tanis, and also the glazed sand. You have and and this sand didn't turn into glass, it just is glazed, crusted glazed, which would be the debris from the falling debris, fire and brimstone, from the impact event that occurred, and then this secondary debris falling back down to earth along the trajectory of the incoming meteor. But there you go, folks. Make of it what you will. I'm just here to report my discovery to you. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. I will have some more for you as I do some more research. A lot of research goes into this. If you like what you see, please hit subscribe and like so I can get some of that cool advertising money. Doesn't take anything off of you, but it definitely fattens my wallet, and so I can keep doing this. And you guys all have a great day, and hope you learned something. You take care.